So starting in a standing position, I just want to kind of move our hips a little bit and see where we're at, and then we'll find our way down to the ground. So step one foot slightly forward of the other, bring your hands onto your hips, and super, super gentle to start. Just feel your movement of your hips underneath your hands. And if you've got that motion pattern down, if it feels available, close your eyes just for a moment. Just notice the movement of bones and muscles in your hips. And then if you like, take those circles and go the other way. Nice. One more circle around, and we're just going to switch our footing. So switch your foot forward and then go back to your circle, circling in one direction. And then once you've got that motion pattern down, if it feels good, close your eyes for a moment. And that way you can just kind of tune into sensation rather than worrying about what your hip circles look like. Just notice how your hips feel. And then if you like, switch directions, go the other way. Awesome. Take one more circle around. And then let that come to stillness. Step your feet to a nice even position. Bring one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. Close your eyes or just soften your gaze, and then just take a moment to come to your breath. Take a nice, generous inhale. Slow but natural exhale. And as you take a moment here, just focusing on your breath, get a sense of where your energy level is at. As we start with our low squat, and then we'll move into a dangle. If your energy level is a little low, or feeling sinusy, so if you've got anything going on in your sinus, it might not feel great to have your head underneath your heart. So you'll, rather than the dangle, you'll take it into a forward fold. So just kind of get a sense of how your body's feeling. How is your energy level? Take one more breath here. And then before we move away from this place, just take a moment to set an intention to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice. Never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. Wonderful. And then when you're ready, open your eyes, release your hands, shift your weight over to one foot. We're going to keep the big toe on the ground and just draw a couple of circles with your ankle, go in one direction. We just want to make the ankles a little bit loose, or just kind of get a sense, and then turn your ankle the other way, keep your big toe on the ground. So in our malasana, that low squat, sometimes ankle mobility, so our Achilles heel or the front of the ankle, is what stops you from getting into that deep squat. Okay, switch to the other foot, big toe on the ground, circle your ankle one direction, and circle the other way. So if you have that, like for some of us, we'll never get there. That's never going to be accessible to take that low squat with heels on the ground. But sometimes if we just loosen the ankles up just a little bit, we might get there if it's already available to us. All right, one more circle around. And then step your feet nice and wide. We're going to start to find our way down to the ground. So if you're going to use your prop, grab your block or your stack of books, take it at the highest setting, place it on the ground, and then just kind of sit your butt onto whatever prop it is that you're working with. If you've got that big range of motion and you don't want to use a prop, leave the prop off. There's no right or wrong with the props. We just want to make sure that you feel like it's a sustainable position to get into. And we're going to take this into a sort of rounded back position. So once you've got your squat that's going to work good for you, we're going to kind of round the body. So let your arms kind of reach forward, soften your shoulders, soften your head. And then just give a little time here to let the breath slow down. If you get into this position and it just becomes a little bit too fatiguing, you can just drop your butt down and kind of hug your knees into your elbows, or excuse me, into your shoulders and armpits. And you're still getting that same compression in the hip place, but it might just be a little bit less efforting. But if you can be in that more upright position, arms forward, softening through the back of your body. Take a couple of nice gentle breaths here. With this rounder position with the back of the body, you might Tune in and notice the physical action of breath in the back of your body, your ribs, your shoulder blades. So see if you can notice or feel your breath there. We have about 20 seconds left in this posture. So in these last 20 seconds, kind of assess, get a sense of where you are. And if it feels like going into a seated forward fold is going to feel better to you, when the timer goes, you might just plop your butt down onto the ground. But if you're feeling like this is a fine position and rising back up will feel good, then we'll just come up to a standing position. When you're ready, nice and easy, take one more breath. And then if you're going to come up to that dangle in an upright position, just let your hands come onto the ground, lift your butt up, and then come into that dangle position from there. If you've opted to take the fold from the ground in a seated position, just set your butt down, extend your legs long with a super generous bend in the knees. So think about folding over. You can even tuck your yoga block underneath your knees to keep it supported. Just want to make sure that you're not yanking too much against the back legs and finding that big efforting position. If a dangle from that standing position feels good, you're still going to keep that super generous bend in the knees. And then maybe if it feels good, you'll catch hold of your elbows, or if it feels just a little bit more supportive, let your hands touch the floor. Whichever option you choose for, start to find some softness in the back of your neck. So if you're holding your head up, efforting and watching and listening, now let your head go. Soften your gaze. Check your breath. And if you're in that upright folded position and you check your breath and you're like already feeling like it's a lot of effort and emotionally you're like, just want to sit down and just sit down. But if it feels okay to be here, think about letting your head get a little heavier, almost that sensation of just like letting the weight of the world get off your shoulders. So let your shoulders, let your head get nice and heavy. Keep your knees slightly soft. We're halfway through our hold in our fold or our dangle. So if you've gotten to this halfway point and you think sitting down might be more beneficial, you always have the option to do so. But if everything's feeling good, stay soft, focus on your breath. Take one more breath here. And then we're going to start to find our way back down to the ground. So if you're in that upright dangle position, soften your knees, gently start to lower yourself down so that you can sit onto your butt. And we're going to take it into Sukhasana or an easy seat. So we're going to crisscross our legs. If your legs are extended out long, just bend your knees, pull them into a nice comfortable seated position, and then give yourself a second here. As you come to this comfortable seated position, just take a pause, let your hands rest, let your eyes close down. Just notice the benefits of that dangle or that forward fold. Take a nice deep breath in. Nice slow breath out. And then in our easy seat, we're going to take it into a seated twist. So you're going to rotate to one side, catch a little hand hold on your knee or the side of your thigh. And then once you've got your handhold, the handhold is going to probably be the most efforting of this position. So we can leverage into it just a little bit. So you find a nice, good, happy twist. And then once you feel like you're there, letting the hand do most of the heavy work, then soften your belly, soften your ribs, even close your eyes down if that feels available, and just allow the movement of breath to do the rest of the work for you here. In our yin practice, we want to put a positive stress on the connective tissue, the plastic tissue, so the bones, the tendons. So when we get into these postures, then you want to see if you can find the relaxation of the muscles to the best of your ability. So it gets past the muscle tissue into the connective tissue. So when we get into these twists and then we soften the muscles, that's what we're shooting for. But check in here, just make sure that you're breathing nice and fluidly, nice deep inhalation, a slow but gentle exhalation. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly release back to center. Once you come to center, take a nice big breath and just feel that fresh wave of blood or just that kind of whoosh that comes back in. And then we're going to take 3 seated cat cows here. So as you inhale, lift your chest, lift your chin, squeeze your shoulder blades. And as you exhale, round your back, tuck your chin into your chest. Inhale, lift your chest. Exhale, round your back. One more breath here. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. And then find that neutral spine. And then just if you like, you can keep your legs as they are, but if you like just that little bit of balance, switch the cross in your legs so that you're feeling a little bit even. It's not necessary, but if it feels comfortable to do so, you can switch. And then take your twist over to the other side. Get your handhold. So we're going to let the hand leverage against the knee. So you're going to come into a good twist that feels appropriate to you. And then once you've found that depth of twist, then see if you can soften. So your arm is still going to be a little bit efforted, but can you soften the abdominal muscles a little bit? Maybe soften the muscles in the chest and the back. And then once you feel like you found that softness, let the movement of breath do the rest of the work for you. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly unwind, come back to center. Take that nice big breath. Cool. And then before we move on to our next posture, if you're wearing glasses, I'll recommend just taking them off, set them somewhere safe so that you have access to your eyebrows and the curve right underneath the eyebrow. So we're going to take our thumbs right to that little space right underneath. So think where the peak of your eyebrow or the end of your eyebrow is, and then just to the inside. So right underneath where that curls underneath, place your thumbs, and you might feel a little indentation there. And then if you can find that place, we're just going to let the head fold forward. Let your head rest on your thumbs. So we're not trying to cram the thumbs into that space, but you might feel that little gentle pressure point. Let your forehead rest there and take about 5 nice deep breaths. No need to effort. See if you can soften your jaw. Make sure it's a reasonable amount of pressure. If it becomes too much, you can lift your head slightly, but we want that little gentle pressure. And you can also draw little tiny circles with the thumbs if that feels more beneficial. 2 more cycles of breath. Nice. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully, gently release your thumbs from that space. Lift your head up. If you were wearing glasses, take a second to put them back on. Maybe even give your eyebrows a little wiggle. And now we're going to take it right into our next pose. So we're going to extend the left leg out nice and long. Right leg is going to be in a bent position. So like it's in a tree pose. And we're going to take this into head to knee pose. So we're just going to fold ourselves forward. The left leg is going to stay soft. So we want to create a little bit of a micro bend in the knee. And then just fold yourself over to a depth that feels nice to you. Doesn't need to be extreme. You don't need to be going to the Olympics, grab your foot. If you can grab your foot and you want to, go ahead. But what we want to invite is a softness in. So let your foot, your ankle, your toes be soft. Let your knee be soft and the back of your knee be soft. And then think about letting your forehead get heavy towards your knee. but don't force it there. Just allow the head to be a little bit soft, a little bit heavy. We're about halfway through our hold on this side, so just check in with the breath. Make sure you're breathing comfortably. If you're becoming too efforted in the breath, you might decide to lift out of that fold a little bit. If you've lost sensation, you might think about rearranging just a little bit so you can sink a little deeper into the fold, but just make sure that it's something that you can sustain. If you were perfectly happy where you are, stay soft, stay gentle. Just allow your breath to do the rest of the work for you. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself up. Let your hands help guide you up. And then as you come back, you're just going to lean back into your sits bones, bending both knees, and just take a couple of gentle windshield wipers. Just kind of move the hips around, move your legs around, just make sure everything feels good. And then once you feel like you've kind of got that dull leg worked out just a little bit, we're going to take that head to knee pose to the other side. So we're going to extend the right leg out nice and long, left leg is going to come in, and then we're just going to fold ourselves over. And again, you're going to go to a depth that feels good to you, inviting softness in right away. So letting your forehead get soft and heavy towards your knee, but you're soft in your knee, soft in the back of your knee. You might notice there's a little external rotation or internal rotation of your foot, just wherever it naturally tends to fall, and just let it be exactly how it is. And you might notice that one side feels a little different than the other. You might have a little bit of varying tension in the backs of the legs. So it's cool to notice, but don't worry if you notice those things. There's no right or wrong there. But if you notice that you picked up any tension in your jaw, your cheekbones, or around your eyes, see if you can invite some softness back in there. We're about halfway through our hold on this side. So if you feel like you've lost sensation, maybe you rearrange to drop just a little deeper into that fold. But if you feel like you've gotten too much sensation, you might choose to lift off just a little bit and lighten up. Make sure it feels like a good position for you. And then find that softness again. Soften your knee, Soften your jaw. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, let your hands guide you slowly and mindfully bring yourself up. Bend both knees, lean back into your sits bones, take a couple windshield wipers with your knees. Awesome. And then from here, we're going to start to find our way to extended child's pose. So if you like, spin your legs around. We're going to bring big toes together, knees to the outer edges of the mat. But if you prefer a child's pose with the legs closer together, which can be a little bit more, offer a little bit more support to the low back, you might choose to keep the knees together. But if you like that wider position to create a little space for the belly and the chest, we're going to walk the arms out nice and long, take a second to create a little space, but now we're going to walk them over to the left. So you're going to walk them over and off the left side of your mat. And then once you've got that little bit of a side bend position, we're going to hold the left side for 1 minute, the right side for 1 minute, and then we'll come back to center for the last minute. So as you're over to the left, let your elbows get heavy. Let your forehead sink down. You might notice the breath a little bit more in the right side and right side of your ribs. So if you're paying attention to the breath, tune in and see if you can just notice your breath there. Take one more breath on this left side. And then we'll walk through center over and off the other side. Take your time, nice and slow. And then as you walk your arms over to the right, let your elbows get soft and heavy. Let your forehead soften down. And then see if you can just come back to the breath, noticing your breath in the left side body and in the left side of your ribs. Take one more breath on this side. And then when you're ready, slowly and gently walk through center. Find that soft, comfortable position in the middle. Let your forehead soften down. Let your arms get soft and heavy. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to bring yourself up and out of that child's pose. Lift your butt up. If your knees were wide, go ahead and walk them in. We're just going to take a few little bops of the hips. So like you're trying to drop your hips towards the ground, just to kind of soothe the hips out, bring a little movement back in. And then once you feel like you've got that worked out, we're going to come down onto the belly and move right into our Sphinx pose. Sphinx pose, you can roll up a blanket, a towel, or a pillow and place it under the solar plexus if you prefer your Sphinx to be a little supported. But if it feels good unsupported, you're going to come down onto your belly, elbows in line with the shoulders, hands about parallel, spread your fingers nice and wide. And then just take a second to kind of relax into this position. So it creates a little compression in the spine, but make sure it's a sustainable compression. So make sure there's not just too much mischief going on in the low back. You should be able to breathe comfortably here. And then see, where can you let go? Can you soften your glute muscles, soften the backs of your thighs, soften your shoulders and your chest. For this last minute, if you want just that little extra bit of compression in the spine, you can spread your fingers nice and wide, push into the palms and lift the elbows up and come into that seal position. But if that feels like too much, if it's a little too much efforting for you tonight and you want that more relaxed position, leave this part off. You're going to get plenty of benefits from the Sphinx without having to effort in the arms. But if it feels good, if this is what your energy level is calling for, find that more upright position. Come back to your awareness of the breath and see here, can you relax your glutes? Can you relax the backs of your thighs? Take one more breath here. And then if you're in that upright seal position, soften your elbows down, walk your elbows nice and wide, and then just take a second to kind of shimmy it all out. Wiggle out your bum, shimmy out your shoulders, take a nice big breath in. Just let the back of your body fill up with breath. Cool. And then when you're ready, we're going to push our way up into a tabletop position. Pause for a moment to assess. Next up on the list is a pigeon pose. But if you would rather take a figure 4 on your backside, if you know pigeon just requires a little bit too much effort, flip over onto your backside, find your figure 4. If it feels good, I'm going to guide it or cue it from a downward facing dog, but you can come into your pigeon in any way that works good for you. If you like, taking it from your down dog, lift your butt up. Pause for a moment just to find that little bit of length in the backs of the legs. And then we're going to pick the right leg up, rotate it inward. So the foot's going to come in, the knee's going to come out, and we're going to lift that leg forward so we can drop it perpendicular across the mat. And then from here, you're just going to walk that left leg back to a depth that feels good. My suggestion for tonight is to keep an upright position. So you might feel a little bit of compression in the spine. And then we're going to invite some softness into the backs of the legs. But if this position in this upright pigeon just doesn't feel very restful and you want that softer position, come down elbows and forearms, or even use your block in front of you so that you can give a little bit of extra support. But if it feels okay to be in that more upright position, which does require a little efforting in the arms, but see if you can snuggle the shoulders down, and then just make sure that that left leg, that back knee is feeling good. So if you need to tuck your toes under, lift the knee, reposition, and then soften that foot. And then just gaze forward, soften the shoulders. Can you let your feet get soft? Can you relax your glutes? Are you holding tension in your inner thighs? Can you let your inner thighs soften? We're halfway through our hold on this side, but if you've gotten here and it feels like it's just become a little too much effort, you always have the option to flip over onto your backside and take it into a figure four. But if things are going good, tune in, notice your breath. Notice if you've picked up any tension along the way and see where can you soften. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to come out nice and slow. So if you want to take it up to a downward facing dog, you're going to curl the back toes under, lift that back knee up, slide that front leg back, and then maybe in your down dog, you'll pedal your legs a few times, just create some length in the back of the legs. If you're over on your backside, you might choose to just release your legs nice and long, or make some windshield wipers with your knees. And then whichever option you've chosen, when you feel ready, we'll set it up to the other side. So if you're coming from your down dog, you're just going to pick that left foot up, bring it across over to the right side of the mat, and then start to slide that right leg back to a distance that feels good to you. If you were on your figure four, you're just going to reverse sides. And then again, you have the option in your pigeon to use your block or use the floor. But if it feels comfortable to be in that more upright position, your hands will do a little efforting, but it'll create just a light bit of compression in the spine, a nice gentle opening through the front of the body, and then just make sure your knees are comfortable. So if that back knee got placed wrong, curl the toes under, lift up, reset it, and then invite that softness in. See if you can soften your glutes, soften your shoulders. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly come out. If you're on the ground in your figure four, go ahead and release it, bend your knees and take your windshield wipers. If you're in that upright position, curl the back toes under, pick that back knee up, slide that leg back, and maybe you take it through your down dog, take a pedal or two of the legs just to bring that length back into the back of the legs. And then when you feel ready, you'll gently release your knees back down to the ground. We're going to spin those legs out to one side, swing it around so that we can sit back on our butt, and we're going to start to find our way down to the ground. As we come down, just make sure that you have your props handy. So if you're taking your stack of books or your yoga block or your pillows, whatever you're using tonight, just make sure it's handy nearby, and then start to find your way down onto your back. Once you come down, just pause. Take a second to rearrange everything. Make sure your clothes feel comfortable. Make sure your hair is in a good position. And then once everything's in a good position, feet about hip width distance apart, heels nice and close to the butt. Let your hands come to your belly. Take 3 nice deep breaths here. Awesome. Now from here, we're going to stretch the quads a little bit, and then we're going to find our way into our supported bridge. So you're going to lift your left leg up towards the sky just to kind of get it out of the way. Pick your right leg up into a bit of a tabletop position, and we're going to swing that right foot over behind the left leg. So your left hand is going to reach down and see if you can catch hold of the right foot. So your knee is in an external rotation position. Once you're there, can you hug your heel close to your butt and drop that right knee down towards the ground? And then whatever you like with that left leg, you can keep it up in the sky, or you can just bend it and set it down. We're going to take 3 nice deep breaths here. We just want to create a little bit of length through the quadricep muscles, and you might specifically feel a little bit of sensation around the knee. So can you soften the muscles, relax your belly, relax your hips, take a nice deep breath in, slow breath out. 2 more cycles of breath. Beautiful. And then from here, we're just going to pick that left leg back up, lift the right knee up to meet. So both legs are going to extend up towards the sky. Give your toes and your ankles a little wiggle. And then we're going to take that to the other side. So right leg is going to stay in that straight or out of the way position. You're going to bend your left knee, swing that foot in, and then see if you can reach your right hand towards your left foot. Once you've caught hold of the foot, if it's available, you're going to bring the heel towards your butt, lower your knee down just to a depth that feels right to you. Everybody might look a little different here. And then bend your right knee or keep it up into the sky. That's totally up to you. But I find setting it down just allows me to soften a little bit more through my left quadricep muscles. So if you can invite some softness in, we're just going to take 3 nice deep breaths here. When you're ready, slowly start by picking that right leg up, lifting the left knee up to meet. So we're going to extend both legs a little bit, legs up the wall situation, and just give your toes, your ankles, your feet a little wiggle. Take a nice big breath, and then bending your knees, set your feet down. And now we're going to set up into our supported bridge. So feet about hip width distance apart, heels nice and close to the butt. If you're using a yoga block, you can start on the lowest setting, and that is going to give the broadest amount of support to the hips. But then if you've got your proportions are so that it feels like it's just a little bit more beneficial, you might choose to flip it up to the medium height. I personally like the medium height, but it works good for my proportions. So start by just lifting your hips up, sliding your books or your block or your rolled up blanket or your pillow underneath your hips. And then we want to get it underneath those broad hip bones. So make sure that it's underneath your tailbone, not in the low back. And then especially if you're using books or your yoga block, just make sure the corners or the edges aren't digging in and they feel uncomfortable. We want to make sure it's in that soft supported area, offering plenty of support so you can relax the muscle tissue. if you're using your yoga block and you've gotten there and you feel like you want to flip to that medium setting, just real quick, lift your hips, readjust your block, and then make sure again that it's in a good, comfortable position. So we want to make sure it's underneath those supportive bones. Once you've got your position that's going to work good for you, let your arms just kind of fall out at your sides, maybe anatomical position with the palms facing up. Allow your shoulder heads to soften. See if you can invite a little softness down into the tops of your feet. So maybe just give your toes a little wiggle so they're not crunching up or holding any tension, and then just let them come to a stillness. Can you soften through the tops of your thighs, through the front of your hips, even inviting some softness into your belly? Now, you might be super happy in the supported bridge position, but if you sat in a chair all day and you had that compression of the front of the hips all day long, it might feel good to walk your feet nice and long to the end of your mat. You'll just want to make sure that the block or your books are really supportive underneath you, and then you can just stretch your legs nice and long. But if that doesn't feel beneficial, then you just leave that part off and stay in your supported bridge. But if it feels nice to be there, just allow your feet to be soft. You're going to feel a stretch through the front of the hips where your front pockets would be, keeping your arms soft. Or if you've got the block underneath you, you might just feel more secure to hand hold the block, whichever feels good. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, you'll slowly start to release. If your legs are reaching out nice and long, with control, start to draw them back in. Feel your feet nice and firm on the ground. And then once you feel like your feet are nice and firm on the ground, push into your feet, lift your hips up, slide your props out from underneath you, lower yourself down nice and gentle. And then once your hips touch down, just pause for a moment. Take a nice big breath, give your spine a second. Great. And then if it feels good to do so, you're going to gently pull your knees up into your chest. Give yourself a nice little gentle rock side to side. And then maybe take your knees, draw them in circles, go in one direction. Draw your knees in circles, go the other way. Beautiful. And then set your feet down, toe heel your feet towards the outer edges of your mat, just to a nice wide distance. And we're just going to take a few windshield wipers to finish the practice. So just let your knees rock gently side to side at a nice soft rhythm. And you might even think about, once your knees reach out to the side, you might think about letting them sink soft and heavy for a moment, and then gently pulling them back up. Cool. And then as you start to find this gentle motion here, just kind of tune in, get a sense, ask your body where would be your best Shavasana. Would it feel good to come back into a constructive rest position, just pulling the knees in towards each other? Would it feel good to walk your legs nice and long? Or do you want a little bit more action for your hips and maybe tuck your blanket around to support the hips and take it into Supta Baddha Konasana or reclined cobbler's pose? So whatever position of your body feels good that it will allow you to find a stillness that makes sense to you, take a second to find your way there. And especially if you're in a cooler space or a cold room, throw your socks on, throw your sweater on, or throw your blanket on, get yourself all tucked in. And then once you've got yourself tucked in, give your body a moment. Let your body work out all those little wiggles. Make sure your head and your clothes are arranged in a good, happy position. Maybe you'll close your eyes down, or maybe you'll just soften your gaze. And then see if you can invite a sense of softness in. Let your bones be soft and heavy. Let your muscles be soft and heavy. Let your belly be soft. So if you're holding any tension around your belly button or around the front of your hips, can you let all of that go? Soften your jaw. Soften your cheekbones. Soften the space between your eyes. Soften the crown of your head and let that softness come all the way down to your toes. Start to bring your awareness back into your body. Start by just noticing the floor beneath you. So notice the points of your body that are connected to the floor, and then notice the spaces. So you might notice maybe the backs of your knees, your low back, the back of your neck, those places that aren't touching the ground, those are the spaces. And then notice the points that are touching the ground, maybe the heels, the backs of your calves, your butt or your hips, your shoulders, or the shoulder space between your shoulder blades. And then notice your backs of your arms and the backs of your hands. And then just start to invite some gentle movement in. Maybe gently move your fingers, move your toes. Maybe turn your head a little bit side to side. And then as you turn your head side to side, just notice the change in your connection points as you turn your head one way and turn your head the other way. And then if it feels really good to do so, start to invite some bigger movements in. Maybe move your knees, move your legs, move your wrists, move your ankles. And then if it feels nice to do so, take it into a big good morning stretch. Stretch your arms up and overhead, and then just nice big reach. Reach through your fingers, reach through your toes. Feel that little space in the front of the body and the ribs. Take a nice deep breath back in. Soften a little bit with your exhale. And then slowly and mindfully find your way up to a comfortable seated position. So you might choose to rock and roll up. You might choose to roll to one side, whatever gets you there, but feels comfortable in your body. And then as you come up to your comfortable seated position, again, if you wear glasses, just take a second to take them off, set them somewhere safe. We're going to fire up our palms and then bring the heels of our hands into our eyes. So get your hands nice and good and hot. Bring a little friction into the palms, bring a little heat into your arms. And you can already close your eyes down here so you can just really tune in. Notice that heat generating between your palms. Notice that little bit of movement and action in your arms. And then once you feel like your hands are really nice and good and hot, take the heels of your hands, rest your eyes against the heels of your hands, let your head have that forward lean. And so we're not cramming the heels of the hands into the eyes, but allow that gentle bit of pressure to come in. Take a nice deep breath in. Slow breath out. 2 more cycles of breath. Wonderful. And then when you feel ready, gently start to release your palms from your eyes. Lift your head up. If you took your glasses off, take a second to put them back on. And then just bring your prayer hands together at heart center, Anjali Mudra, and bow your head to your heart. And then with your eyes closed in that head bowed position, maybe just take a moment to notice. Notice the sensation in your eyes. Can you invite some softness back into your cheekbones and your jaw? Take a nice, generous inhale, breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and the time that you take to take care of yourself. And breathe in a little extra love and gratitude that you can carry with you through the rest of your night and share with everyone you see. And then when you feel ready, gently lift up through the top of your head, gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Monday.